In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with a recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Lou's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. From the book of Job. There is no replacing a person of wisdom. There are mines for silver and places where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is smelted from the rock. But where can wisdom be found? And where is the source of understanding? There is no replacing a person of wisdom. From Pirkei Avot. Who is honored? One who honors, loves, and cares for other human beings. The deepest wisdom man can attain is to know that his destiny is to aid or to serve. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Psalm 23, which is on the English is on the inside of your program. I'm going to chant it first in Hebrew, and then I'm going to ask you to read along with me in the English. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binot deshe yaritzeni, al mei menuchot yenachaleni, nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit zamavet, lo irara, ki ata imati, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged zorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, kosi revaya, ach tov achesed, yirefuni, kol yemei chayai, veshavti beveit Adonai, veshavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim. Together in English on the left-hand side of your program, we'll read together. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God lays me down in green pastures, leads me to still waters, renews my life, guides me in right paths, for that is God's way. Though I walk through a valley as dark as death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in full view of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup is overflowing. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. And then the bottom reading I'll do for all of you. It's called a "'Tis a Fearful Thing." I've used it in funerals before. I think the first time though I used it was for a Shiva minyan for Marilyn Hurwitz, Zichronah Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing. And this is by Rabbi Chaim Stern. He was a rabbi in London. "'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched." Some of you may already know this, but a little over 2 years ago, I was asked by Lou Hurwitz's son, Michael, to write a tribute to him for a book the family put together for Lou's 90th birthday. I was honored to do this for him, as Lou had done so much for me in the Jewish community. This is what I wrote. "Dear Lou, happy birthday from me and Sue. In thinking of you and of what you bring to the Jewish community, I remembered the end of Psalm 92, which is the psalm for Shabbat. At the end of the psalm, the writer says, 'The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful.'" I particularly like this quote, Lou, because in it, a righteous person is compared to two trees with very different but complementary traits. The date palm, native to the land of Israel, withstands wind and weather by being flexible and resiliently bending to whatever comes its way, even as its roots are firmly planted in the ground. The date palm also gives sweet honey and fruit. The cedars of Lebanon were so strong and sturdy that in biblical times they were used to build great ships for war and transporting goods long distances, and they were also used as the foundation for the temple. I have not known you for a long time, but what I have seen in you and your life, your care for your family, and your support of Tifereth Israel and the entire Des Moines Jewish community, is like the man in the psalm. You have the remarkable ability to be resiliently flexible at times and yet sturdy and strong when you need to be. You bring sweet joy to so many people, including me and Sue. Your generosity, like the cedar, provides much of the foundation for the strength of the Des Moines Jewish community now and in the future. You are all of this and so much more. And at 90 years young, you are still fruitful, fresh, and bountiful, with your energy, your time, and your love. I am so grateful for all the things you have done to support me and my journey in the community. Sue and I are particularly appreciative of your generous gift for the mikvah. May you continue to go from strength to strength, Lou, and may we all be able to benefit from you and your sweet soul for many years to come." Lou Hurwitz died 92 years young, just as this past Shabbat began. His age, the same as the chapter of Psalms that I quoted in my birthday note to him. Lou was born August 12, 1930 to Ben and Mary Hurwitz in Des Moines. He graduated from the University of Iowa in 1952 and then served in the Intelligence Division of the United States Army during the Korean War. He met the woman who would later be his wife, Marilyn Rose Rice, on a blind date. And over the many decades of their loving partnership, they created a family with their children, Eddie, Jody, and Michael. Lou had a modest upbringing, growing up on East 12th Street. He worked his way through college at Iowa, during which his father passed away. Lou didn't have enough money to be got onto the fancier Jewish fraternity at Iowa, so he did something that was typical of the rest of his life. He found a way to obtain what he wanted while helping others, and began the AE Pi chapter at Iowa, along with other friends. After graduation, through much hard work and determination, he built a successful business, Lomar Foods. It was important to him to care for his employees, to do his work well, and to provide a superior quality product to his customers. He eventually sold his company to Hy-Vee. He was a mentor to many, including his children and their loved ones. He was the kid wrangler, but he was also friends with all of his children's friends. With Lou, what you saw was what you got. A winning smile, an incredible sense of humor, a sparkly laugh with a twinkling eye, and a little bit of a trickster. He never took anything too seriously, even his precious Hawkeyes teams, and especially himself. I loved joking with him, even at the very end, just to see him smile and to hear his wonderful laugh. I am glad that I was able to be with him at the very end, teasing him a little, and still see him smile and chuckle, even when he was feeling so poorly. That memory was one of his many gifts to me. My first interaction with Lou was before I even met him in person. I had just begun here at Tifereth, and I was informed that we had to get a new sound system. Lou Hurwitz, who I had yet to meet, was frustrated because he was not able to hear as well in his older age, which meant that he could not hear the service as well. A man who never wasted time taking matters into his own hands and never liked to waste time, period, he paid for the entire new sound system. We knew we had to make the adjustment before those first high holidays that I was here, and the sound system had to be great. You can all thank Lou for being the beneficiaries at his funeral of being able to hear him eulogized clearly and loudly. But seriously, Lou had a big and generous heart and was proud to be a successful entrepreneur, but even more proud to give back to the community that gave him so much as a successful philanthropist. He gave to many causes anonymously. I bet you didn't even know until today that he was the donor for the sound system, on which we could actually watch like a live action film with no problems. It's that good. And he was honored to donate to the University of Iowa Stead Families Children's Hospital, where his donation can be seen in the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Cafe and the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Family Guest Services. He also supported Beit Sefer Shalom, the Jewish Federation of Des Moines Community Hebrew School, and of course, perhaps his most unique, forward-thinking, and important gift to the Jewish community of Des Moines was his enormous gift to build and help sustain Mayim Rabim, Many Waters, the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Community Mikveh. Some of you by now know the story, but it is worth a retelling in this context. Right before I arrived in Des Moines, Beth L. Jacobs sold their building, and the community lost access to the mikveh or ritual bath necessary for life transitions and especially conversions. A Jewish Federation survey showed a good deal of enthusiasm for the building of a mikveh, but the Federation was not willing at that time to take the project on. One evening, a few months later, Lou, Marilyn, Sue, and I were sitting in one of those circular booths at Waterfront Restaurant. We had a lovely meal and were enjoying our dessert and coffee. Seemingly out of the blue, Lou asked me a direct question. If you could have anything for Tifereth, what would you like? I was stunned and I had to think fast. I thought of the toughest thing to raise money for, the thing that I saw was most needed, but that I also faced much resistance about. I thought this might be my one and only shot, and I would take it and see what happened. The words tumbled out of my mouth. A mikveh, I said. Lou looked at me, not just a little stunned, and you probably thought I was going to say like playground or something. He said, a what? And when I repeated my request with a little more courage this time, he said, are you sure? How much does something like that cost? I threw out a figure that unfortunately got larger as the pandemic progressed, but still together we embarked with Justin Shane, one of Tifereth's current co-presidents and one of Lou's cousins, on this crazy, often seemingly impossible project. Being Jewish and being part of the Jewish community was clearly very important to Lou, but he was not the most observant when it came to Jewish practice. The irony is not lost on me, and certainly was not lost on him, that of all the people in the Jewish community in Des Moines, he was the one helping to create what is often seen as one of the most traditional of Jewish structures. However, he came to see the potential in the mikveh, how it could be beautiful and modern, open to traditional uses, but also innovative new ways of embracing an ancient Jewish practice. We are so lucky that we were able to complete the building, open it, and dedicate it with Lou present. His beautiful, full smile showed his joy at the profound legacy he and Marilyn gave the entire state of Iowa. After all, we are now the only community mikveh in the state, and for over 100 miles in every direction, sometimes many more miles than that. It is perhaps fitting that Lou loved the water and was an excellent swimmer. He was on the swim team at North High School, in college and beyond, teaching Mark Spitz's coach swimming. He was a lifeguard and saved many lives. He was a major sun bunny at Des Moines Golf and Country Club, where he was a member for many years, and would often save people by scooting in for people's parents at the parent-child swim meets, and he won a lot of kids' trophies. However, he was really a lifeguard for all of us in all he did to help bring this mikveh to fruition. Lou Hurwitz passed away just as Shabbat began last Friday night. Last week, we read the very beginning of the book of Exodus, when we are introduced to Moses, who was saved from infanticide, first through wise and crafty midwives, but especially through an elaborate plan created by his sister Miriam, who, after Moses is floated down the river Nile in a basket, helps to find him a foster mother and the daughter of Pharaoh. Miriam, of course, was Lou's own mother's Hebrew name. By the end of last week's Torah portion, Moses has grown up, stood up for injustice, especially the horrible treatment of the Israelite slaves, and he has found love. Most importantly, though, while Moses was out tending his father-in-law's sheep, he notices something unusual and very special. It is a bush that is all aflame and yet not consumed by the fire. Moses is puzzled by this and draws near in curiosity. It is at that moment that God introduces God's self to Moses, and Moses' career as a teacher, a mentor, caretaker, and cheerleader of the Jewish people really begins. Lou was not a particularly religious man, as I noted earlier, but he did have a sense of awe about him. He was amazed and proud of everything luck and, frankly, a lot of hard work brought his way. And he noticed even the small and beautiful things. Like Moses, he was an intelligent man, full of love and joy for everyone. Also, like Moses often was, he was straightforward and direct when he spoke, and yet he was always a visionary, looking towards the future thoughtfully and with curiosity and hope. The official name for the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Community Mikveh is Mayim Rabim, many waters, the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Community Mikveh. The name actually came from another psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 93. Above the roaring of the Mayim Rabim, the many waters, above the might of the ocean's breakers, mighty in the heavens is God. Mayim Rabim, many waters, was chosen not just because Des Moines itself sits on two rivers, and we had donations of all sizes from all over the country, but because, as was Lou's express wish, this mikveh would be open and free of charge to all Jews who wish to use it, no matter their denominational affiliation. However, the phrase Mayim Rabim, many waters, shows up in many other places throughout the Bible, including the Song of Songs. There's a glass panel inside the mikveh that is beautifully dedicated to two other families, which were extremely supportive of the mikveh. But for me, it will also always be tied up with Lou, for what it represents in that space, but also for how Lou lived his life. It is, many waters cannot quench love, nor can rivers drown it. Lou loved life, his family, his friends, and the many communities he belonged to, especially the Jewish community of Des Moines, deeply and completely. May that love that we all experienced from him never be quenched in the memories we have of him. Yehi Zichra Baruch. May Lou's memory always be for a blessing. And may God comfort his children, Edward, Jody and Andy McCann, Michael and his wife Corey, his grandson Sam, and his spouse Meg, his many nieces, nephews, cousins, friends, and all who knew and loved him. I'll now ask his son Michael to come up and speak.
Stay up here, Rabbi, in case I lose it.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I want to thank everyone today for joining the Hurwitz family in celebrating this incredible life of our father. Today we'll say goodbye with a heavy heart. But every day hereafter, we will celebrate his more than 92 years of life well lived. Our father came from very humble beginnings, as the rabbi said. When he went to the University of Iowa, he worked his way through school with his best friend, his brother Jay, by his side. His mother Mary and his sister Betty were always there to support him throughout his life. After college, he struggled, as we all do, to find his path in life. He sold typewriters for a while, and he even took his first shot at entrepreneurship with a short-lived popcorn stand. But he found his real footing in the grocery business. After buying out his partner at the time, he started what today is one of the largest specialty food operations in the United States, Lomar Foods. The business name Lo for Lou and Mar for Marilyn, to me, epitomizes how two people can come together to create something much bigger than what they can accomplish themselves. Along with his soulmate and our mother, Marilyn, he built a very successful business that continues to thrive this very day. I don't think my father ever thought he would become a full-time philanthropist, but that is precisely what happened in his later years. As the rabbi said, with great pride, he gave generously to the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital. And his donation can be seen today in the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Cafe and the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Family Guest Services. He also gave generously to the local Jewish community. And last year, he was able to share the grand opening of the Lewis and Marilyn Hurwitz Community Vikma with all his children and with the community at whole. And that mikveh will serve as a spiritual and educational center for the Midwest for many, many, many years to come. You know, as a child, we only see our parents as just parents. We don't fathom what their life was like before we came into being. As we grow older, we see the beauty and richness of their life and the impact they made in the lives of other family members, friends, and the community at large. My stories alone can give you only a tiny sliver of that enormity that was my father. I can tell you that he always had a smile on his face, and he had an incredible story to share with anyone that would want to listen. He opened his heart to my beautiful wife, Corey, and he loved her as his own daughter from the day he met her. The three of us created a tradition of going to an Iowa game every year up until he was 90 years old. And I'm sure many can associate what I'm going to say next. We would sit with my dad in his den with the heat turned up to 110 degrees, never by our choice. And he shared stories of how bad Iowa football was in any particular year, and the challenges and joy of entrepreneurship, and most importantly, the stories about his dear, dear friends from his childhood to even the new friends he seemed to make on a daily basis. One son alone cannot detail his father's legacy without the assistance of others that have also been impacted by his love and generosity. When my dad turned 90, as the rabbi said, my wife and I put together a birthday book. And we didn't want people to just wish him a happy birthday, but we wanted them to share memories and dreams that they shared with my dad over the year. And today I want to spend some time and read some of those. Carol, the youngest of his sister Betty, she wrote, "When I was 11 years old, I was in a car accident and I broke my leg. I was in traction for about 6 weeks in the hospital. Uncle Lou came to visit me every day. I would so look forward to seeing him in the mornings. Quite often he would rate a bowl of candy that was in my hospital room. And in my adult years, he and Aunt Marilyn were very special to me. They were both great support to my mom. And after my mom passed away, Uncle Lou and Aunt Marilyn filled the gap of that loss. I distinctly remember Uncle Lou saying, 'We were both here for you,' and they were. His brother Jay had 3 amazing sons, Larry, Scott, and Benji. But Benji paid me the most to put his memory into the eulogy, so here you go. You and my dad Jay were less than 2 years apart. You both were 2 parts of one being. And despite many years living in different cities, you never were that far apart from each other in spirit. I saw it every time the 2 of you were together. I heard it in both your voices, and I feel it to this very day." From one of his very earliest childhood friends, Norm Angman. "Our friendship started as far back as kindergarten. We were having a tug-of-war with Jim Markovas, and you pulled his arm through the glass window in the garage. Boy, Becky and Mary gave us such a scolding that day. Wasn't that one to remember? And what about the little candy store in the alley? 1 penny bought so much, we would stuff our faces until we were sick. When I was stationed in Japan, you happened to be freezing your butt off in Korea, and we would share our battlefield stories as often as possible. Lou, we had some great times together, and your friendship meant everything to all the Angman brothers and to me." Al Mincer was also a very, very dear friend of my dad's, an incredible person himself, and he wrote the following. "During our relationship, Lou, you frequently said that you were just an average student at the University of Iowa. Your achievements belie that statement. You created a very successful company, Lomar, named as a tribute to your relationship with the lovely Marilyn. Through intelligence, diligence, perseverance, and hard work, I believe there is a need to reassess the grading system at the University of Iowa. You belong at the head of the class for qualities that far exceed what any exams can measure. You are a man of admirable character and a very humble person. I know you've made generous contributions to Jewish organizations, community institutions, and individual persons in need. Lou, as you may know, there are 8 levels of giving to tzedakah. You, my friend, qualify for the top tier. You are a mensch in the broadest sense of the word." From Ron Pearson, the former CEO of Hy-Vee, and the person who was instrumental in purchasing Lomar. Your father was friends with literally hundreds of Hy-Vee people, probably thousands when you think about it. He knew their birthdays. He knew where they grew up. He knew what schools they went to. He worked late nights and on weekends to build Lomar into the success that it became. I truly loved your dad and his incredible work ethic. A true story that I would like to share with you is that during the negotiations for acquiring Lomar, Lou's attorneys and the Hy-Vee attorneys had reached an impasse. All of a sudden, the lights went out in the room. There were no windows, so there was complete darkness. But we found our way outside, and we joked that Lou must have the power of God on his side, so let's close this deal now, before it's too late. I have met many people, Lou, over the years, and you were one of a kind. You were someone that I truly loved dearly, and I considered you a great friend from the very first day I met. There were so many great memories and quotes in that book that we put together that came from all of the Lomar employees. I couldn't share all of them with you today because it would take hours, but there was one that stood out to me. Thank you for hiring me, Lou. It was the best career life move I ever made, and it was all thanks to you. The way you treated us at Lomar was like a family. One thing that always stayed in my heart, when I would call with a question about some issue or whatever, you would always first ask about how I was doing. You always wanted to ensure your employees were good personally and financially, and only then would you answer my questions. This always assured me that you were a Lomar family. And finally, for my in-laws, Mark and Inga Weinberg. From a broad smile and sturdy embrace, it was clear Lou Hurwitz was the real deal. Lou redefined the patriarchy. He provided his family in every regard. He created jobs, and he created financial security for hundreds of others. He exuded the American entrepreneurial spirit while retaining Midwest values, wisdom, and charm. If a man can be measured by his devotion to family, to hard work, and to success, to generosity and willingness to help others, and contributions made to his community, then Lou made the most out of his life. He was an exceptional husband, father, and role model. And for that, we are all grateful. On a personal and closing note, in the final years of his life, my dad would always tell me that he had to just pinch himself to think that he was able to accomplish so much and to help so many people in his life. He also would tell me that he only set out one goal in his life, and that was to make his wife and children proud of him. I think he did just that, and along the way, he did so much more.
Thank you, Michael. You made it through. I'll now ask Lou's daughter, Jody, to come up and speak.
That was beautiful. Big print. Trying to find the right words to honor my dad's memory turned out to be more than a little daunting. It's the stories and the tributes and condolences about and for my dad that will help in the coming months, even years, in dealing with the pain of missing him. As I look back over the past couple of years that I've spent with my dad, I realize that those were some of the most meaningful memories of all. I now fully understand what is meant by the circle of life. My dad was there when I came into this world, and I was fortunate enough to be there holding his hand when he left this world. I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I also want to thank a special someone who had a very special relationship with my dad. Dempsey, thank you for missing school and helping me say goodbye to my dad, Lou.
And this is from Eddie. I'm going to read it on his behalf. Dad, I look at you and then at your grandson, Sam. Both of you are my heroes. Both of you I'm so very proud of. Both of you are so very much loved. It's true. Greatness truly does skip a generation. Rest in peace. Love you, Eddie. In a moment, I'm going to do the memorial prayer for our beloved friend, father, grandfather, Lou Hurwitz. But before that, I want to do a little bit of logistical announcements. Immediately following the El Male Rachamim, the memorial prayer for him, I will ask the pallbearers to come forward, and we will escort Lou out to the hearse. The family will follow behind me as I say a psalm first in Hebrew and then in English. And then we will all proceed, whoever would like, to bury Lou ourselves, as our custom, at Jewish Glendale Cemetery. And you can follow the processional of cars. And we always allow people, especially at this time of year, a chance to gather your coats and your purses and all your things, and if you have brought sensible additional shoes, then that would be the time to put them on. It's a bit muddy in the cemetery. And then after we have paid our final tribute to Lou at this particular point in time, then we will come back to the synagogue for the meal of consolation, which I want to make sure that people know is open to the entire community of people who are sitting here. So you can go to the cemetery and then return with us. And we're very grateful for the Women's League for providing a luncheon for us. Then you can all share stories of Lou if you would like with the family, and also amongst yourselves. The cemetery is, like I said, a little bit muddy and precarious. If you are unsure of your footing or someone who might need extra assistance, you may just want to stay here until the family returns. But I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. And Lou will be missed by so many of us, not just the people who are in this room, I know, but the people who are on Livestream, and the people who will watch this funeral at a later time. And certainly, he will be missed by me. With that, my friends, I'll ask you to rise for the memorial prayer for Lou Hurwitz. El Male Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utohorim, Kizohar Harakia Mathirim. Et nishmat Leib Gershon ben Binyamin v'Miriam shehalach la'olamo began Eden tehei menuchato ana bal harachamim hasirehu beseter kenafecha L'olamim. Utzror b'tzror ha'chaim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, the soul of Louis Hurwitz, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul always be bound up in the bond of love, in the bond of life, in the bond of good memories. May he rest in peace always. And let us say, Amen. I'll now ask the pallbearers to please come forward.